everybody, it's Thea and welcome back to Garden Goddess Tarot for the finale of Garden Arcana. Today is the final video from the 7-video series with Candy from Candy Soul and Soil. It's been such a pleasure doing this. I can't believe I'm a little bit sad that we finally got to the last episode. And today we are diving into the garden and specifically looking for the energies of the sun, which isn't too difficult to find these days. Judgment and the World, our final 3 major Arcana cards out in the garden. So excited. It's yesterday. Yesterday was the summer solstice. Happy solstice, everyone. Or Litha, or whatever. Midsummer, however you celebrate the peak of the sun. Us fantastic sun worshippers over here, just having a great time. It was a wonderful day. We had the summer solstice party with my family. I did my own thing. It was great. So I just want to wish you a lovely, happy solstice and the bit of relaxing exhale that comes afterwards. Like the months of ridiculousness that have led up to right now at the height. And then we get to slide down the slide now after climbing all the way to the top. So anywho, I hope you enjoy. Let's find some tarot cards. Let's go out into the garden and I'll show you a few of the beautiful things that are showing their faces. In the eyes of the sun, imagination regains its natural rights. It is a reconciliation with your dark side. Beauty will be convulsive or it will not exist. The sun is pure joy, enlightenment, a peak human experience. Everybody loves the sunshine. May you be showered in a glory and riches, for you are a golden being, a luminous child of the sun. Keep shining. Judgment, however, opens the cages of the spirit. It is the golden egg of thought that hatches towards its transformation. And yet the happy people in this world make a noise of disaster. Judgment is a significant decision. It's that moment of hearing the call, moving into a new form, leaving the past in the past, like molting a shell away. It's confidence in a direction. The world is the birth of a galaxy. It's a detachment from the bonds, total integrity to oneself and to one's own vision. In order to cover itself with a sunrise, the sky will really need to be as pure as the night. The world is the question itself. Any question. It is synthesis, coming together. It's the complete picture, wholeness, total awareness. This is a level up on the spiral of life. Be here now. Thank yourself, for out of this moment is born another. This little journey through the major arcana of the tarot in the garden has left me with a bit of a weird feeling at this point as we come upon the last 3 cards. It's a satisfaction in what we've been through, but also so many more ideas and questions and just a feeling that there's so much more to come. That leveling up, as it were. I've got a little story here from the Marielle and the Sun card of all things that I kind of want to read about the Fool's Journey for you, just to kind of wrap up this whole experience. The fool in the beginning walked off his cliff without a care and tucked his beautiful self into a little travel pack, and off he went to experience life in the world. That world being one of life and death, love and suffering. From there he was loved, cuddled, tortured, rended, blinded, witness to all of the beauty and suffering in the world, challenged, pushed, transformed. His divine self was slowly walled inside a fortress of stone. After he dragged himself out of the pits of despair and ruin in the underworld, he climbed this tower, slowly, then furious and possessed. At the very top, he reached the sun and realized he was the sun all along. His beautiful little self in the pack, divine by birth, had grown and expanded through experience and hard work and self-knowledge until it broke free of its bondage and remembered who it was and filled the whole universe, renewing his self, his memory, and his making the wasted lands fertile. And then that fool tucked it back into his little pack and stepped off the cliff again, laughing. The journey through the garden throughout the year, it really isn't that dissimilar to the Fool's Journey. It feels very much the same beats, the same high points, the same low points. Each card is represented many times in the plants and the spaces and the nature of the garden itself. The Fool all the way through to the world. It's all there. And when the snow melts in the spring, all the way through till the last rose petal, frozen and crispy, falls from the frigid branches. It's a journey. And that same weird, heavy feeling of it being over is just an invitation to start again. And it's so beautiful. It's the same but different. A new place, a new time. Every moment is a treasure and is precious, and I am so blessed to have the opportunity to experience life through this space, the space of the garden. Thankful I can see the face of the sun in the chamomile buds, or feel the heat of judgment when I bite into a hot, spicy pepper, or see the world when I look up, look around, feel the space that I'm in, see the clouds, a wreath of green, and know that the chance to start again is always there. It's a comfort and a joy. Seeing tarot in real life has been such a valuable skill to find the connections and the meaning in everyday things. And that, my friends, is one of the wonderful things in this world that money can definitely not buy. Much like the scent of a rose, which, let me tell you, these things smell like heaven. I can't even begin to describe it. So beautiful. My sunflowers, holding within them the potential energy of the sun, growing much like ourselves beneath its rays, being illuminated, the spark of life. We're all just full sun plants in the garden of our own making. The world, the universe, the earth, home, whatever you want to call it. It's where we find ourselves. Righto, I think we're gonna do our last little wrap up outside because it's gorgeous and so wonderful out here. I can't believe it. Final week of Garden Arcana. So many stories, so many. Oh, there's so many things I could say, but I'm like overwhelmed. I don't know what. I guess let's just start. Let's start with the cards. The sun. The sun is what makes all of this possible. The sun is that life force energy that us little beings, both plant, human, and animal alike, need to survive, and it's kind of a big deal. I'm a sun baby. I think that's pretty evident. Where's my grow yourself card? This one. Don't forget to water your plants is the keyword on this one, which is funny. But that's just, it's funny, like water on a sun card, what? But I think it's just the effects of the sun. It's a caution too that they do take their toll. The sun being life-giving, wonderful in general, illuminating, shines light on things. It also casts the longest shadows. It also is, like, the sun is dangerous AF, right? You don't want to get too close to the sun because it will burn you to a crisp. So that's kind of the shadow aspect of the sun. It non-discriminately casts light on everything, but also in the wake of that does draw the longest shadows, and itself is a very dangerous entity if one were to stray a bit too close to it. So the sun is big. The sun is a great card in a reading. Like when it comes up in a tarot reading, it usually means like joy and happiness and exuberance and life and like playfulness and, you know, the bliss of childhood and that sort of thing. But also do remember the overwhelming exhaustion and heat and intensity and persistence of the sun. But when it's not there, you need it. So it's like I got another reference to balance and being able to make the best of the situation you're in, but while also like knowing that things ebb and flow and change and grow, and the sun is part of that cycle as well. So it's a great card. I love all the cards. I've said that about literally every one of them, but especially with the solstice being yesterday, sun is a big deal, and I love how timely the series landed, like with our sun and our final week on the solstice week, which is the peak of the growing season, where everything is just at its zenith, as I've said. It worked out so well, and I'm so happy about it. Sorry if I'm wiggling. There's mosquitoes currently biting me. But it's all good. Ooh, let me show you my favorite sun card ever, I think. You'll probably know why when you look at it. This is from the Tarot of 1001 Nights. And it's beautiful. It just feels like the sun for me. I have a lot of very personal associations with this kind of setting. The one in the Edmund Duloc Tarot is also quite good. I'll show you. A similar theme, but just an amazing vantage point. The sun featuring prominently as a deity in one and is that bright orb in the sky in the other, as well as just the effect it has on that kind of land. The Mediterranean sun is, if you've never experienced it, it's the same sun as is here, but it feels different. It lands on your skin in a completely different way. So if you ever get a chance, highly recommend giving it a try. The Sun in the Tree Spirit Tarot is the Date, and they have it as Renewal, which I think is a relation to its fiery quality of ushering in that that new growth, that ability to grow and renew, and being a fire card, Phoenix and transformation and renewal, and that perspective also applies here. So, and the date palms, they grow in warm, sunny places. They take an awful lot of direct sunlight to grow properly, and that sunlight is immediately captured in the squishy and sweet, delicious fruits of the dates. Dates are, yeah, they're just like little mouthfuls of sunshine. I like to think about that. When I'm eating fruits and vegetables, I do like to think of all of the bits involved in growing, and especially if you've grown it yourself, you've kind of witnessed and experienced that light and that water. So a lot of the time you've either given it the light to begin its life in like a grow light sort of setup, and you've also watered it to keep it alive in a lot of cases, and nourished it and sustained it, so you're also eating a part of yourself in that way. Ritual cannibalism, how cool. I don't know, it's not quite that, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just taking a moment to be mindful of all of the things that went into the thing that you're now consuming and be making a part of you. And, you know, insert, it's the circle of life. So yeah, so that's the Sun. Plant-wise around here, I've got some calendula. They're kind of my most solar plant, the one I associate the most. And they're about the only yellow and orange flower that I will not only tolerate in the garden, but also actively encourage. So I have a few patches of them growing right now. They're still green though, there's no flowers on them yet. They won't bloom for another month or so. But they're a direct solar reference. And things like St. John's wort is another really good solar plant reference. Any of the daisy family, daisies are solar, specifically just their flower shape, the petals like rays of the sun, and then that little yellow orb in the center is very solar. The next one is Judgment. I have a little Judgment story. That's actually pretty fun, and it is very garden related. It's about the moment that this garden happened for me. So when we moved here, there was like a small square vegetable garden, kind of where the big circle garden is, and a few remnants of the borders that were my grandmother's, but had all overgrown, and a lot of them kind of got swallowed up into the lawn anyway. I kind of rescued a couple of peonies from the lawn, which is kind of funny that they were still alive under there after being mowed for like 6 years. But I had no intention of really turning this place into the jungle that it is now. When we first moved here, we were more concerned about getting the house in order and just like figuring out what our life was going to be like. But then the second time I went to Greece in 2019, everything in my life always comes back around to something that happened either the first time or the other time that I went. There's a reason that that place has so much importance in my life, and it acts as a catalyst for like every other thing that I do. It's weird. And like every time I'm feeling stuck, or like that something is not moving or not going the way, like it just feels kind of dead, I go back and I return, and I'm like suddenly catapulted into the next phase of life. So I don't know, it's a weird place. It's got magic, and I will continue to go and use it, tap into it, make the most of it when I can. But anyway, Judgment. After I got back in 2019 from that trip where I was clearing the walking trails and all that sort of stuff, which I basically spent a month in the brush with a pair of clippers, it was just second nature for me to decide to kind of tidy this area up. And it was very overgrown. There was a lot of wild grape and a lot of Virginia creeper everywhere. So I grabbed my pruners and I started pruning the snowball bush over here. It was about, I don't know, maybe 9 feet tall, and it was like completely swallowed by Virginia creeper, which is the stuff that grows on the shed right next to it there. And it was killing it. So I cut all of that off, and it was looking really rough. So I chopped it back to the ground and, you know, tidied it up and made it look a lot better and healthier, and let it live its best life. But apparently I did not put the clippers down at that point. It was that moment, that pruning of that specific plant, that I picked up the clippers and I just didn't put them down again. Like after that moment, I was a gardener. It happened. Something just clicked in my brain and I went, yep, this is what I'm doing now. So that was kind of a judgment moment for me. Like the awakening, like the call, the kind of, you know, the thing that goes off in your brain that sends you on a new path. So, or on your path maybe. A finding of purpose, maybe, is a good way to put it as well. So that was very exciting. Here's the one from the Edmund Duloc Tarot. On the Outgrow Yourself Oracle Tarot, it says grow out of it, which is interesting. So maybe out of a phase into another. It's a reference to the Thoth card, which is the Aeon card, which is directly related to the movement of time in like the Aeon of Horus, Isis, Osiris, like the movement through the lens of the Thoth. It's a vibe shift. It's a new epoch. Like when we moved into the Anthropocene, like all of those like large scale shifts is kind of what the Judgment card kind of holds within it as energy. So yeah, and on the surface too, it can be just a judgment, an assessment of one's like spirit and character. You can't hide anything from Judgment. You can't lie to Judgment. Judgment knows all and will assess in that case. On the Rider-Waite-Smith card, there's Angel Gabriel doing his little trumpety call Judgment business. Rapture, I believe, is the word for that one. And the Tree Spirit Tarot card for that one is Olive, which I like. I like Olive. Olive fits in a lot of places, but I like it here too. The olive is strongly associated with Athena. The olive tree, the olive branch sprig was brought to her as a symbol when she conquered Poseidon in the war over the rulership of Athens, which is called Athens and not Poseidon's. So she won. But I've got a little olive tree right over there. It usually grows in the kitchen, but it's outside now, so I do like that. And she's a goddess of divine wisdom, of conflict and war, but in a like not out of a place of anger, but out of a place of wisdom and knowing and like for the greater good kind of energy, which can be argued, but at the same time that's kind of where she sits. So Judgment as an olive, and again that picture just sends me. I love a good gnarly old olive tree. I love how old they live. That's another reference to the Thoth with the turning of the aeons. Olive trees can grow to be like thousands of years old, which I think, don't quote me on this, but a Thoth aeon is around 2,000 years, isn't it? Like the aeons that they're referring to. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure they're around 2,000 years old, which is interesting. That's about as long as an olive tree generally lives. So very interesting, very cool. Love it. Okay, the world. The world is the last one. Also ties us right back around to the first. So the Fool comes rushing in right at the last minute and goes, let's do this again, right after the world. So the world and the Fool are like, they butt up against each other, and there's very much a large part of the Fool within the world. And the world is like a completion. It's the end. It's the swan song. It's, you know, it's everything. On the Rider-Waite-Smith card, we've got a representation of each of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, the 4 corners of the universe, the 4 apostles, the 4 sections of the Sphinx. Like they're all, it's a very, they're very strong symbols, those guys, let me just tell you. I'm very proud that my sun sign is one of the 4 fixed signs, but that's just me. Yeah, let me find some so you can look at them. Oh, and in the Thoth card, it's called the Universe. So this one in the Outgrow Yourself says trust and surrender, which is a great motto for when dealing with the universe and the world. I like the Thoth perspective, as it is more than just, like, the world sticks it to just Earth, whereas the universe is everything. So I like that. There it is in the Edmund Duloc. There it is, and Tarot of 1001 Nights. It's always just such a beautiful card. And it's one of those ones, it can't be upside down. I talked about that in my my readings, because it came up a couple times in the member readings for Cancer season, and it was reversed there, but really the reversed world is just the world. You can't, it's one of those ones that I firmly believe like doesn't show up in a like negative context unless your question kind of makes it so. But yeah, in the Tree Spirit Tarot, it's a baobab tree, which is beautiful. They grow in Madagascar. Is that the only place they grow? Is that correct? I should look into the book, not just use what's in my brain already. But they're amazing, giant, wonderful trees. They host a great deal of life within them. They hold a great deal of water, which means they can survive long periods of drought, which is very cool. That's what their giant trunk is for. It's just conserving water, which is very cool. But they're like one of the neatest looking trees I've ever seen. So yeah, the world is where we're ending and landing on in the Garden Arcana series. Plants that are associated with the world. Well, see, the world's kind of funny. The world, the astrological association for it is Saturn, which is great because Saturn is Kronos, who is Father Time. So in that sense, the world is kind of like the end of time as well, which is kind of outside of the realm of our perception, which is very cool. Saturn is a malefic planet as well. It's one of those ones that causes trouble in our lives. That points to the idea that every little problem and every little trouble in our life is leading us specifically to this end point that is the world. The troubles that we face are not for a reason, but like they determine the layout of the road, the path, right? So ultimately they are part of what's important and what takes us where we're going, even though they may be unpleasant. So it's interesting having a malefic planet on such a good card, but I can make sense of it. I don't know if it's a stretch or not, but it kind of is. And plants associated with Saturn, I think U's associated with everything. What else was associated with Saturn? There was... I can't think of it. I'll put it in at the front, the one that's like on the tip of my tongue but won't come out. I'll probably even yell at myself doing a voiceover during this bit because I'll be like, duh, how would you forget that? But yeah, the world is, the garden is the world is the garden. It's another one that kind of encompasses everything, so ultimately it is everything. It is the time and space with which we operate. It's the location that gives the opportunity for this to even happen. It's the motivation, inspiration, and energy to do the things, and it's the emotional capacity to appreciate and love and revere it in the process. So like the four elements are there. The world is everything, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and it's at home in the garden, much like myself. Thank you guys so much for being here for this series. It's been a blast. Like I said, this is my jam. This is what I love to do. I just love being out here. I love talking about tarot. I love talking about plants and gardening. I just love being around them. That's part of the magic of plants, is just enjoying their company, sitting in their energy, enjoying what they have to teach us, which isn't an instant thing. It takes years, and it's like I'm here to forge those connections with them, to watch them grow and change and die away and let go, and let them teach me everything in that process. Like I'm here to learn. I'm not here to control everything. I'm here to watch and learn and experience, and then maybe one day be able to share that with others too. So a big thank you, and like the biggest heart-shaped virtual hug in the direction of Candy from Candy Soul and Soil for coming up with this idea with me, agreeing to do a crazy 7 video series with me in the garden with tarot. It was kind of like a mountain that like in my brain, it didn't fully like form until I'd already started doing it, going, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? This is so much work, but that's okay. It was great, and I look forward to it every week. So I'm a little bit sad it's over, but I'm really glad that it happened and that we got to do it. And like, seriously, Candy, love you so much. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I enjoy your content. One of like the first people on TarotTube that I started watching, and just absolutely got absorbed in every single thing you made. It's so full of magic and joy and happiness and beauty, and it's just so wonderful. So thank you everybody for this wonderful experience, and I will see all of you fine people in my next video.